Good morning. Welcome back to Shadow Phoenix Tarot. And today I wanted to continue the pre-class lesson learning for the tarot class that we're holding in a couple of weeks here in my hometown. And I wanted to talk about some court cards. So what we're going to do when we have court cards is we're going to be moving from the major arcana down into the minor arcana. And you're going to find that we now have suits. You're going to have wands and swords. And you're going to have pentacles and cups. Excuse me, my big fat hand's in the way. So these are correspond to the energies of water, earth, fire, air. Pentacles is earth energy. Cups obviously is water energy. And then for our masculine energies, we have swords, which is air. And we have wands, which is fire energy. So you're going to find that happens. These are archetypes as well, but the archetypes they are of people that you're going to meet in your journey here in the 3D manifest realm, okay? They do have some major characteristics. Let me get the pentacles one because they're very bright. So, there's 4, and again, I'm using the Rider-Waite deck, Rider-Waite-Smith, and you're going to have a page, and it's going to say it on the card, so that's good. So you have pages. Pages give messages, okay? So their primary thing is that they give messages. They also, I just saw a bird. I think it's a robin for anybody who's looking for signs and symbols. It does that. They're also going to be somebody who's young. They can be chronologically young in their actual birth years, their age, or they can be young or immature as a characteristic about them. They could be a student of some sort. So you can have a friend who is in their 30s and going back to school to get their master's or their doctorate. They could have pages coming up in their reads because that's indicating a learning posture that they're taking in their life. They're doing a new endeavor where they're learning. And they again, it's very much about communication. Very much about communication. It's all about action. The confusing things, which that's a great way to start out a video, right? The confusing thing about court cards is that they are, again, traditionally associated with people that you meet. They can stand for you. Could be something that you're going through. And it can also be a situation, and it's not referring to a specific person or individual. It can be referring to like a situation in your life. So that's why it's important to know how to read cards together in a spread. If you just get one, it's pretty basic. And sometimes too, it won't tell you like much about that person. So, okay, let's say you have a page comes up. Okay, so what about them? Is it a good guy, bad guy? Are they helping you? You're helping them. They're in your way. Like they're facilitating something. Like what about them? What's the story on that? So again, that's some more skills in how to interpret them, how to lay additional cards, how to ask your questions right, how to read single cards within the context of the full reading. So these are notoriously confusing, and if you don't get them right away, don't feel bad and don't feel you can't read. I still struggle with them because they can mean just so many things. And again, one of the reasons why I don't like these videos and teaching on them is you never stop learning about each individual card. It's a relationship that you have that never stops, and you're always going to be learning. It's like being married. You don't know everything about your new spouse on the honeymoon or even 5 years in or even 10 years in. You're continually developing a relationship. So, of course, there's some cursory basic information you need to have about a card when you're reading tarot, but don't feel you have to know it all in order to do so or to read well. Oh, I wanted to go to the knight, excuse me. So next in the court system, we're going to have a knight. Knights always are going to be depicted with a horse in the Rider-Waite. Mostly in the other decks too. It's rare. They'll be riding something generally. Although it's not a hard and fast rule, but the horse is part of the symbols and the iconography that comes along with the card. It's a really important part because Knights are related to action, offers, things that happen in the 3D world, events. So they make things happen, just like a normal knight would. If you think of Arthur and the Round Table, they're out doing things. So this Knight of Pentacles is the most slow-moving knight, as you can imagine he would be, being from the suit of Pentacles, which is a slow-moving and highly feminine, receptive energy. But he's still doing things. These people can be somewhat immature, but they are action-oriented. So if one comes up and a knight is talking about somebody, that person is focused in that moment on doing something or accomplishing something. They're taking action. They have a mind to get something done. Okay, so pages are for messages and communication. These are for action, accomplishing tasks, checking things off the to-do list, completing something. And lastly, we have the royalty. We have the king and the queen. So you'll notice that the king and queen is seated and they are wearing crowns, which is a big part of their symbolism. And these individuals, when they show up, these cards are referring to people who are mature, very, very mature, very in control of themselves in a very positive way. They're very self-possessed, they're very self-determined, and they make decisions. They don't really do a whole lot because they have gone through, again, if you're going to think of this as a mini fool's journey or hero's journey, they have gone through the page, they have gone through the knight status, and now that they are full and well-rounded, now they have dominion. They make decisions, they bear responsibility, they wield power, they have access to resources, wealth, they are in line with themselves, they are in line with source. So this is a very mature and dignified energy, very weighty, very solid. And so they're going to be generally what you're going to want to see. Some readers tend to, like anything else in life, interpret things in kind of a negative light or connotation. I tend to be very positive. So some people with, like, say, the King of Wands will say, "Oh, this king is this is an angry person." I don't really go in for a lot of negative interpretation on court cards unless I specifically feel it's needed for a couple of reasons. The nature of royalty is that they are self-possessed and they are in control of themselves, that they have matured, they have a sense of vision, they have the ability to fulfill things. This is a spiritual card. So in a lot of ways, you're not going to find somebody who's immature and angry or critical. They're not going to be able to hold and maintain their kingdom because somebody who is more powerful is going to come around and take it, or they're going to lose it by being foolish, by being hot-headed, by being immobilized and, not taking action when it's needed. So I feel like, again, as a spiritual card, because, again, tarot is a spiritual tool, so it can refer to people who are, in positions of power. Like a classic example is the angry boss. This gets a lot of press, the angry boss. But this card showing up alone is not enough to indicate that somebody is a bad king or bad queen. You will have other cards that come up with it. And not that it doesn't happen, but other cards, in my opinion, from my experience, will come up to indicate this person is in a position of authority, or you look up to them, or, whatever in the 3D and the manifest realm. But because of X, Y, and Z, they're not a good person, whatever's going on. They have some defects or they have some issues around them. So those are the suits and those are the positions, and I want to talk just briefly about, and I do try to bring this in, I am an ally for the I don't even know it, it's early, LGBTQ community, or at least I endeavor to be, and so because of so many different things that have happened in our culture and with civil rights and with human rights, the culture has changed. So the tarot cards that got started off, a couple hundred years ago, within the last couple centuries, had much more rigid understanding of what it meant to be masculine and what it meant to be feminine. It was still highly patriarchal. So again, you only have one female in these court cards. You have one queen and then you have three men. So you can see how some of the prevailing culture from when these were created influenced, how the male and female energies got written, illustrated, talked about. And so now we have a lot more. So the deck that I use on day to day has males for the male energy of fire and wands, and then it has a female page for the water and earth. So they do make some effort to, again, as the culture is changing, you'll find that. And I think that's positive. I think that's good. I like it. Also for the knights, somebody that's action-oriented isn't by definition male. We've also done a lot of work culturally, but in the spiritual community, about talking about what is male energy, what is female energy, and what does it mean to be male or female in our energy. And we have all of us, every single person has male and female energy in us all the time. So you can, and again, the traditional way is to interpret these as people in the 3D. But if you get, let me get a super masculine. The energy here is sword, so it's male, and the king is a male. So this is male energy versus a king of pentacles is going to have male king energy, but the pentacles is feminine. So this is a male-female. So you can also look at balance in there. So you can have like a super male person, and it still refers to a female if, in the 3D, if that female is demonstrating very masculine qualities, or she's in an energy at that moment, or this is what's activated in her at that time, or in this particular event that it's referring to. So the court cards are, again, historically have been designed to be much more rigid and structured than I think the current culture is understanding them now. That is something that when you buy your own decks, you will want to take into consideration about how your personal taste and preferences are and how you're resonating with it. And that can and will probably change over time, which is fine. But just be aware that just because a queen of water comes up doesn't mean it necessarily has to be a female. Again, this is part of your skill as a reader of how you interpret this, and then just how you personally interpret things in general. So for, where was I going with that? I forget. I just wanted to make that caveat because, again, to me, I feel like it can be offensive to people who are, they're gender fluid or they're non-binary. It really can, depending on who you're reading for, it can present some different situations as you're doing this, as you're reading for people in the public, if you do that, and just understand that people's sensitivities in 2020 are at different places than when this was created. So that just means that as a reader, you're going to want to be more skillful when you're talking about court cards and the energies or the person. And that doesn't mean that it can't mean this is a man or this is a female or this is a child or this is an older person, any of those labels. It doesn't mean that, but just understand that you're going to want to be very specific if you're not feeling that it is a person. You're feeling this is an energy or this is an element or this is just a situation. You're just going to want to be very specific with people when you're talking about that. And if you don't know, it's okay. It's okay to say you don't know. And we will cover that more in class. But just understand that, again, the cards are in some ways much more rigid than today's current prevailing culture is, and how to kind of address that as you read. So I just wanted to point that out so you don't suddenly read for somebody and they have a meltdown, understandably, and you don't know why. This can be triggering for some people. And so, again, just be very specific with what you're saying and how you're reading them and just making sure that you're being accurate. My personal opinion is that the page and the knight, they're their main mode of either talking or action, to me, is the more important thing about them. Yeah, it would be great to see. And that's the one thing. Night pages, they will change. Knights almost never. I still feel like they're still very male. And king and queen too. So sometimes they'll have them instead of pages and knights, they'll say maybe like son of, instead of having like rank, social rank, it'll be like the children. So it'll be like the prince and princess, or son of cups and daughter of cups. The way that they reimagine these, there's a lot of the different ways. So again, just know that that's out there. And if you get a deck that has some different configuration, it's loosely based on this. But that's the beauty of having different kinds of cards as you read the decks, is being able to find one that resonates with you and that works for you. And there are, depending on the artwork and the different things that they set up in that deck, it can be very, very different. And that's totally fine. Go with what that deck says. Because again, if it's resonating for you as a reader, then that's what's important, because this is your skill, this is your tool, your tarot deck is your tool, and it's important for you to have that resonance when you're reading. It's going to make you a better reader. So again, this is the foundation historically that we're drawing from, and because of some of the, again, different issues, this is what I'm choosing to do. But know that you have more options and that there's different factors which may come up, and we always want to be sensitive to that, because tarot should always help people and make them feel better. That's how I read, that's how I teach. So I don't want to ever read for somebody and then trigger them because I'm using some very like masculine or very feminine, like overtly like assigning things to them. Anyways, so that's that. I think you guys know where I'm going with that. If anybody has a question or feedback, if there's anybody out there that wants to leave a comment that's LGBTQ, that has some like good feedback on how readers that are new to it can show sensitivity, or what you in your community would like to see. And I know that there's a lot of awesome decks out there. I had a reading from a girlfriend who's gay. She's lesbian. And then I think her partner is non-binary. And she had an awesome, I don't know what kind of a deck it was, but it was definitely like a lesbian deck of some sort. And it was awesome because there were so many of like these I don't know, it was really cool, all of the different things about it. And I think there was the Queen of Wands or whatever that popped up, and I just fell in love with that card. It was awesome. So there's some awesome decks out there. There's a deck for everybody. And again, if this is too rigid or structured for you for whatever reason, go find a deck that works for you, and you and that deck will work out your own relationship with how you read and all that. So I just wanted to say that because I think that it bears saying. So moving on. So let's actually get to the cards and do a little bit of more in-depth. The Page of Cups. Here we go. He's going to be having a cup in his hand, and he is going to be having a fish come out of the cup. That's one of the huge symbols and icons that relate to this card. This is messages that are with people. They're going to be emotional in nature. This also can indicate communication with spirit, with source, and spiritual communications between a person and the other side. Could be even mediumship or channeling, could be departed ones that are coming because of the water, of the element of water in the cups. Sometimes like this can be like asking for forgiveness or something. This could be like showing your heart to somebody, like having a heart-to-heart. The fish is there. Some of the pictures are really weird. The fish is there to indicate that emotional, the emotive side, and that water element that is really coming through. And again, like this is an esoteric deck. Like there's symbols here that really tap into the unconscious. The water behind him is calm. This is a calm card. It's not overly upsetting, like nothing's happening. Again, nothing's happening. It is it's messages and communication. So the Knight of Cups is about making offers. So this is an offer of love, an offer of romance. This is offers between spirit. And an important element in my mind is the horse, and he are right before like this stream of water, and crossing over can be a very important spiritual or emotional journey. It can indicate like evolution, enlightenment. It can indicate moving to the next step. Again, spiritually in your spiritual growth, because this is a spiritual card because of the water, or also in a relationship, like you're moving from casual dating to like a committed relationship or a commitment in any kind. Sorry. It's hard to look into the thing with him. And then he also has, and not all of them do, the little wings from the god, I think it's Hermes or Mercury. Again, with those messages from spirit. But this is about action. So this is an offer, something's happening, there's a task, there's a goal. He's trying to do something. And again, there's no end to what that could be because you have to read it in context with the other cards. Queen of Cups, again, sitting on her throne. And again, this is a feminine. It's a queen, which is a feminine energy, and then the cups, which is also a feminine energy. And again, in light of the previous conversation about all of the different, again, not just culturally with LGBTQ issues in the culture, but spiritually, understanding that spiritually, feminine doesn't mean girl. It means feminine energy. And so this is a highly feminine card. Somebody who's highly intuitive, somebody who's highly connected with themselves, their own emotions, their inner self with source. She is around the water. It's all around her. It's very peaceful. She's holding a big cup. And the Queen of Cups is going to be somebody who, again, is very in tune with her emotions and with spirit. She's very comfortable in that emotional realm. She's not going to be driven by logic. She's not going to be action-oriented. She's going to be highly receptive and responsive to what's going on around her. And she's going to be emotively motivated. But again, she's in charge of herself. She's not having mood swings. It's not something like that. It's just that she, in a very positive, good, healthy sense, is very connected with herself. King of Cups is the same. A person who is very in touch with his emotions. Now he is on a pedestal which is completely surrounded by water. There's a little fish back here. You can see some of the similarities popping up. And he's somebody who is a male who's very introspective, very, very intuitive, very comfortable talking about feelings. And he's, again, going to be somebody who is, oh, there's a ship back there too. That's a ship. So again, so much layers of meaning on these cards, and I really love that about them. So King of Cups again. Now, and again, in a negative sense, this can be somebody who is like maybe an alcoholic. Maybe they do have what do you call it? Fits. You know, mania. Like they could be extremely emotively, and again, not necessarily bad when I say maniac. I mean, people can be very, very up, but just highly emotional, highly in tune. So again, going back to what I was saying before, I keep losing my train of thought. There's so much to these that it can be difficult for me to track because there's so many. Okay, so I'll come back to this because it will. Okay. Moving forward, let's do Wands. Well, this is the fire energy. So again, we have male, King and Wands. And this is going to be somebody who is a mover and a shaker. They're very powerful. And again, with that fiery intensity, they're very passionate. They're driven by their ideals. They're driven by their principles. They're very self-motivated. They're very externalized and active, action-oriented. It's not going to be, I mean, the King of Wands really should not even be sitting down as a ruler. And you can see in his stance, he's like almost getting up. You know, he's not relaxed and settled. He's like leaning forward. And so this is like the mover and shakers and people who go out and get it done. For the Queen of Wands, we have somebody who, again, is a feminine energy, but is going to be very social, very passionate, very opinionated, very action-oriented woman. Okay, that's what I was going to say. So the element of one of the ways that you can interpret court cards is that you have this fire energy. The king may be the outward face that people see in the 3D. This could be the queen, what might be the inner face or something that's private, your shadow side where it's like an internal, not in a shadow negative way, but the side that people don't see where internally you have passion or you have these feelings or this element occurring for you. And this is your own, but people don't necessarily see that. Could be like your own personal resolve, your personal growth, whereas a king is going to be like people can see you going out there and taking action. That's what I was going to say with these. Again, there's so many ways. And that's not to scare you. It's to say, if you, especially when you're new and you get a reading and you think that it sounds weird. No, it's probably right, because these can mean almost anything, especially in context with the rest of the spread. And I just want you to know that if Spirit's telling you in your reading, like, hey, this is that's going on, most readers settle on one general way to interpret them, but a good reader has all of those tools in the toolbox to be able to draw from and know that Spirit could mean X, Y, or Z, all of these different things. And sometimes things will pop up that you've never seen before, and if that's what's presenting itself to you in the reading to be read, go with it. So again, Queen of Wands, and again, this can be somebody who is like maybe domineering and overbearing. And again, other cards will show up in the reading to indicate that to you. The Knight, this is the most powerful knight, and look at that horse. Like, he's really powerful moving. There he's in mid-stride, he's running. There's some very dynamic and like masculine sacred geometry with the pyramids here. The color red is here. He's got the salamander on his suit, his cloak. So this is somebody who goes out and gets it done. This can mean somebody who acts first and thinks later. Been known to occur. But somebody extremely driven and somebody who, when they take action, it's going to be pretty undeniable. You're not going to wonder what's happening. I mean, you may wonder what happened. Oh my God, that hit. That was fast. Oh, that little robin's over here. And here's the Page of Wands. Again, very close now to the pyramids, holding the staff, looking at it, and going to have messages about fire, about passion. This is the most sexual suit. And sexual, the wand is a very phallic symbol. And so the Page of Wands with some other cards can be a pregnancy card in a traditional type reading. So he's going to have messages about passion. Again, can be emotive, romantic passion, can be passion for your job or, a newfound passion in connecting with somebody or something, connecting with yourself. And also about new endeavors. So this is going to be a lot when something new comes up, again, because it is a page. And because fire tends to be new beginnings a lot, like you start things with, it takes a lot of fire energy. So manifestations can also come that way. Or word of manifestations can come that way. Alrighty, King of Swords. So again, this is a masculine card, somebody that's heavily masculine, as he has a butterfly to indicate, the air. And, he is a little bit I tend to think that he's a little bit out of scope. Like, he is larger than the background. It could be just like not skilled, 3D and perspective artistry, but I think that for him, this indicates that logic is dominating. The swords indicate logic, also communication, and also the intellect. So when you are in your mind space, that really is all that you see. And the swords, again, with its very classical meaning, can be for cutting off. It can be for making separations, creating borders, distance. It is a sword. So, and again, he's not action oriented. He's sitting. He's very stable as far as like he's not going to get up and do anything, but he's going to be a decision maker. This is somebody like a lawyer, your CPA, your accountant, It's going to be somebody that's very rational in their approach versus emotive, like the King of Cups that we saw earlier. Okay, so these two people are going to come and address circumstances and decisions and how they relate with people in a very different way. This person's going to really focus on logic, intellect, what's right and wrong, how can we make a logical, linear decision. This person's going to be emotive and intuitive and want to know about how you feel and share how he feels, and he's going to use intuition and emotion as part of how he makes decisions. Neither's right or wrong. They're just different. Queen of Swords, we have the Queen energy, which is feminine, with a Swords energy, which is masculine air. So this is more of a balanced card. So you'll find that as well. If you like, these cards are going to be equal in balance. You have Pentacles with the King, which is Earth energy with the King. Queen is Swords. So they're both masculine, feminine. I don't know if I'm belaboring this or explaining it or providing more confusion. I don't know. That's the other reason why I don't like to do this, because there's just so many ways that it could be read. And I'm going to point that out. It's great to know your cards. You have to have a cursory knowledge of what the cards mean, but it's more important to know how the cards interact with each other. So don't get caught up, don't get stumped, don't get discouraged if you can't memorize 78 cards. This is why I use the Rider-Waite, because when you use the classic deck, the artwork helps spark your intuition enough to get you going. And in the class, we will also talk about if you get stuck, what to do. Okay, because that's the thing that happens, especially when you're new. So again, Queen of Swords is going to be a feminine person who is very logical, who makes decisions very rationally. In some ways, I don't feel like there's a huge, again, if you go back to like the Queen is just an inward, logically person. So personally, I'm an Aquarius moon. This card resonates for me because I think my feelings. I legitimately think my feelings. I've been accused of like intellectualizing my feelings. That's not it. It's just my placement. I'm an Aquarius moon. So if you have an air sign in your moon, or maybe like a Pisces or a Neptune or something, you might intellectualize your feelings too. It may be that you think through how you feel. And that's a thing that happens. Also with the clouds, also indicating air. And I love her hand gesture, which is, she's holding the sword with her right hand, her left hand is open. So again, it's a receptive air energy. It's, somewhat mutable and accommodating. She has the butterflies on her crown too. Oh my goodness. Yikes. See, he's jumping out of my hand. This is the Knight of Swords. This is the most fast-moving knight out there. Talk about acting first and thinking later. And air energy is just very active. This is faster, whereas the page, the Knight of Wands, is going to be more powerful. So let me see. Where are my cards going? Here we go. So this is the one that like can knock over a brick building. I mean, it's just a ton of power, ton of momentum, ton of passion. This one is going to get on the scene first. What he does there, he may not be very, able to get anything done. Sometimes that air energy can have a really hard time grounding or being focused enough to be productive. But he's going to be there first. Can be somebody who is very quick with their words in a good or bad way. And again, this is, look at the art on this. Like, this is just, even the trees are like swaying in the wind, the clouds, everything. Very action-oriented card there. And lastly, the Page of Swords. So this is when somebody's learning logic. They're going to school to be a lawyer. They're learning a new, like, highly mental pursuit if they're taking like philosophy or something. Also communication. So this could be that there's a new communication coming in, that there might be sharp communication coming in. Can be also like learning a new way to think. If you have very calcified like pathways and like your thought patterns are very structured and routine, it could be that you're going to be learning a new way to think. Could also be learning some more communication skills. And again, messages that are more intellectual in nature. So, why do I have an extra? That's the Knight of Wands. Okay, so I think last we have Pentacles. So, and again, this is one reason why I love the classic deck. I'm just going to show you these knights. So look at the Knight of Pentacles and the Knight of Swords. This Knight of Pentacles is taking action, but his is intentional. It's slower. It's more thought through. It's deliberate. It's going to have results. This is Pentacles. This is something that's going to manifest from this. This Knight makes things happen that are long lasting. This Knight of Swords is very quick. He rushes in. He may or may not know what he's doing. He may or may not have a plan. He may or may not be doing something that's going to last, but he is going to be reactive and there taking action. So you can just see in the artwork the way that these cards are, written, that it is the artwork on them and the way that's illustrated is does a lot of the work for you. So Page of Pentacles is going to be, and when we talk about Pentacles, this is talking about earth energy and things that have to do with finances, the mundane life, the 3D, things you are manifesting, and things that you can touch, see, and feel. And the Page of Pentacles is going to have messages about that. Messages like maybe a job offer, a raise, signs from spirit that manifestations are coming through. Can be talks about money, can be budgeting, can be going to see, again, your tax person or your CPA or your financial planner if you do stocks and bonds. And can also be issues around the home. So this is the most practical card as far as home life. Can be talks that you have with your spouse, with your kids, with your roommates, your landlord, your neighbors, communication, with that. So, or a new start, moving to a new home, news, you're starting a new business, something like that. You would much more find an ace for that, but it wouldn't be out of the realm. Okay, Knight of Pentacles, again, taking action, making something happen. This is the slowest, most deliberate Knight, but what this Knight does is going to be very long-lasting. This is going to be the long-term investments. This is going to be long-term businesses. This is going to be relationship offers that are like, let's get married. Like, I'm serious about this. Let's move this forward. And it's not going to be fast. It's not going to be fast, but it's going to be very deliberate. It's going to be very intentional, calculated in the very best sense with a really good quality planning. And then what is going to come out of that is going to be solid. It's going to be absolutely solid. So this is very dependable and reliable. Queen of Pentacles, again, this is a very feminine card. Feminine queen, feminine with the Pentacles earth sign there. So this is somebody who's highly receptive. And this is somebody who is very much an earth mother, a nurturing type, who's going to want to take care of people. This is the mom where you go over, or the woman, and she's always got dinner. She's always got extra people for dinner, for Thanksgiving dinner. She's just highly skilled in all of the homemaking arts and the domestic duties. And then same here, this is going to be a person who is going to be like very entrepreneurial, maybe own his own business, has a lot of money, is smart with money, knows how to handle money. And again, depending on the card and the read, anything goes as far as, I'm using like very, very gender typical language about the feminine being at home and him being in commerce. But you can have a woman who's in commerce out there and who's killing it as a business owner with this card. So, or it could be this card. It just depends on what's around it. So that's why I don't want to get too locked in to like super specific meanings, because it really does depend on how the entire read's coming out. But these people are going to be business owners, very connected to the earth, very connected to their livelihood, connected to their families, big, warm, open hearts who really love their family and their friends and very much take care of them. They're not going to be out there moving and shaking so much like a wands. They're going to be more very practical, very practical. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if that helped. Take what you like and leave the rest. There are, with court cards, I encourage highly as I do myself, lifelong learning on court cards. Always look them up. And there's hardly a time when I look up a card and I don't learn something new about it. And again, remember that this is a lifelong relationship when you become a tarot reader, if you want it to be. I mean, you don't have to. But again, you will learn about the cards. And again, that's one reason why it can be really difficult for me to talk about them, is because they can just mean so many things. I've seen them in reads and I've seen them mean different things. So that's some basic information about the court cards. Do not be afraid of them. And you can always throw more cards on top of it if you need a more of a storyline. And sometimes I really feel like with the court cards, you almost have to, especially if it's a royalty position. I mean, knights are pretty self-explanatory. But because and again, if it comes to you very easily that this is a person and what this person's doing and all that, then that's great. But you almost have to, because that's kind of the who. This is the who and kind of the how. They're doing it in an earth manner. They're doing it in a fire manner. They're doing it in a water manner. But again, the what, so what, how, what's the connection? It's not always clear. So you can very easily throw another couple of cards, 1, 2, 3, however many you need to get the full story between this card and the other people in the spread, or the dynamic between them, what they're there to signify, what the message is. Don't be afraid to do that, and don't be afraid to look it up. And there's a lot of good information on YouTube. There's a lot of good information on the books, the net, about how to, continue learning, and just don't get so married to a way of interpreting it that you become rigid. At the beginning, if you're learning, it can help to just say, I'm just going to decide it means this for now, and as I get more comfortable, it will present to you when they want to be read in a different way, and you can let the tarot guide you. That's kind of how I did it too. You kind of have to decide, how am I going to read this? I think what I did for me was I took it more as my own internal state at that time. Was I focused on communications? Was I focused on action? Was I focused on, royalty of making decisions and doing stuff like that? So as I read and other ways of interpreting the cards presented themselves to me, then I did branch out. But I initially just said, I'm going to take these to mean me, frankly. And when they don't, again, it's very clear. So, well, thank you for joining me on this. Please do take what you like and leave the rest. There's a lot to the court cards, and there's a lot, again, because I'm so passionate about the self-empowerment and keeping up with culture and being like a really kind and sensitive reader. I added a lot of extra stuff on there. Some people may feel it's distracting. Some people may feel like, as an ally, I'm not really saying it correctly. So, I apologize if that's the case, but feel free to leave comments and have a discussion, because I think that it's a great starting place for us to all continue to learn and grow. And again, remember, tarot should be helpful and a positive experience for everybody reading, being read for, so on and so forth. All right, love and light. You guys have a great day.